We're going to be discussing uncommon aim tips in this guide, things that are a little bit different than most aim guides cover. We will cover the basics like aim settings and all that, but yeah, we're going to get a little weird. I'm not going to dive into mouse and keyboard aiming, but some of these tips will apply to mouse and keyboard as well, but this is mostly a controller-focused aim guide. I got to onyx in both playlists on mouse and keyboard, but eventually I just decided to switch to controller because it was an uphill battle. Taking 1v1s on mouse and keyboard against a controller player felt nearly impossible, so here we are. Sorry, mouse and keyboard users. Okay, let's jump in. I was going to do aim settings first because that's just practical, but that's kind of boring, and I promised you a weird video, so let's get weird. Okay, my first aim tip is to trace objects before even warming up. So what I mean by this is go into training mode, find an object that has a weird silhouette, and just trace it with your cursor. Try to trace it accurately and quickly. Try to go as fast as you can, as accurate as you can to those lines, and just kind of trace it over and over again. That's going to kind of calibrate your aim quickly and just get you kind of warmed up before you even warm up. Something you can do mid-game when you feel like you're losing your aim a little bit, right when you spawn in, do a quick circle. It's called the ogre twitch, at least it was coined that after the goat himself. And all it is you do like a kind of a circle with your reticle, as small and tight and uniform as possible, and that kind of recalibrates your aim, similar to this whole tracing idea. Okay, I'm going to share with you a super secret tip that I use to recover my aim mid-game when I feel like it's falling off a bit. Super soft trigger pulls. The reason for this is because when you pull your trigger really softly, which is pretty easy to do mentally, just do a very, very small input pulling it on that trigger, it's going to result in you giving very, very gentle inputs on your toggles as well, specifically your aim toggle. And what that is going to result in is better control because you're doing more gentle movements, and that's going to kind of recalibrate your aim and get you back on the right level. No joke, when I'm in the zone and I feel like I'm unstoppable, it's because I'm lightly pulling on my triggers and I'm basically caressing my controller at that point, which is kind of weird, but that's what you're here for. Okay, let's talk about analog stick extensions. I am a firm believer in analog stick extensions. I probably have like over 40 of these things, no joke. Elite Controller 2, Elite Controller 1 both come with extensions that you can snap on. If you don't have those controllers, I would really recommend looking into Control Freaks or other brands on Amazon, but I really recommend Control Freaks. They're way overpriced, but they are really quality. So let me explain what toggle extensions or analog stick extensions do for you. If you think of your analog stick as a lever, pretend like this is an analog stick here, just your normal length. If you move it, say, like an inch for this scale, you're going to move it here. That's going to output quite a bit of output on your game. So just an inch movement gives you a huge movement in game. Now, if you were to extend that stick to, say, something like a lightsaber length, and you did that 1 inch movement, that's going to barely move your player in game. So what that means is that it's increasing your arc distance. Basically, it gives you more range of movement on your sticks with less output in the game. So what that gives you is just more control. It just gives you the ability to move your thumbs a little bit more without making such drastic movements in game. The one thing I will say is that the longer the toggle that you go, the slower those movements are going to be. So you have to kind of take that into account. For us guys with little thumbs, baby thumbs, unfortunately we have to use kind of a smaller range of toggle. Like this is probably about the maximum size toggle that I'd ever use. I can't stack a tall toggle on top of a tall toggle because when I move my thumb across my controller, it kind of strains my thumb and it's a little awkward and it's just not efficient. Oh, just a quick note on thumbstick extensions. Explore the dome-shaped or convex-shaped toggles because for me, they really help keep my thumb on the toggle without slipping off. Whenever I use a concave-shaped toggle, my thumb just slides all over the place, slides off the toggle, and I found that the convex shape really helped. All right, let's talk about a more common aim tip in Halo Infinite, and that is left stick aiming or strafe aiming. Left stick aiming or strafe aiming is the act of strafing across your opponent and moving your reticle over their body and letting the aim assist in the game to do most of the aiming for you, while making small adjustments with the right toggle or the look toggle to account for the enemy's movement or strafe. In the majority of fights in Halo Infinite, you should be left stick aiming with very small adjustments on the right thumbstick to account for your enemy's movements. Of course, the biggest opportunity for growth and to set yourself apart from the competition is to get really good at right stick aiming so that you have a better sniper shot, or you're better at flicking to targets and then tracking them. The right stick aiming is really where you're going to set yourself apart from the competition. If you really want to improve your right stick aim, then I would recommend the last video I posted, the Shinobi 2-shot drill. It's an aiming drill that gets you very, very good with your right stick aim. Okay, you're going to sit over there. You're not going to hit the camera. You're not going to hit the microphone. You're going to be a good cat. Oh. Stay. All right, let's jump back into those weird aim tips. Let's talk about your hands. Having warm, uncramped, well-stretched hands is actually key to unlocking your full potential for aiming in Halo Infinite or any other game. So I'm going to give you the weird tip of doing proper hand stretches and warming up your hands before starting to play. What? Stretching for a video game? Yeah, that's right. Professional athletes stretch before all of their matches. And yeah, we're not going to hurt our hands playing Halo, but it will warm up your hands and get your muscles more loose so that you can make more fluid movements. So the first stretch that I want to recommend is the forearm extensors. And that's these muscles that extend, muscles, tendons, I don't know. But they extend from here all the way into your thumb and your fingers here. And the way to stretch them is to pull back on your hands, on your fingers with your other hand like this. I hope you can see this. Do that for like 10 seconds, flip it over, another 10 seconds. It's really going to stretch this muscle here. Then you want to put your hand down like this and pull on the back of your hand, kind of wrist area, and that's really going to stretch this upper part of your forearm. It feels really nice, and surprisingly, it actually really helps. It does make your aiming feel a lot more comfortable and smooth because your muscles are kind of loosened up. So yeah, do those stretches for maybe 10 seconds. Just flip between each one for 10 seconds. Do it 3 or 4 times, and that'll loosen that muscle up. Okay, the next stretch is a thumb stretch and kind of massage as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to pull it backwards towards your body. I don't know if you can see this. Pull it backwards towards your body. And then you're also going to pull it across towards the back of your hand this way. Ah, that's nice. So it's going to kind of stretch this little area right here, that muscle. And then you're going to kind of pull it this way, and then you're going to do that, for like 20 seconds or something, and then massage this part of the muscle right here of your thumb. And that's going to kind of loosen up that thumb movement, and it's going to feel a lot nicer. Ooh. Okay, now let's talk about warming up your hands in case they're cold. So the best method for warming up your hands quickly and probably just loosening up those muscles is probably putting your hands under a nice bucket of hot water, or filling up your sink with hot water, putting your hands in there and just kind of sitting them under there for a minute or so and kind of moving them around. That's really going to loosen up your muscles, going to relax your muscles, and also warm up your hands. Another method you can do is just do some quick aerobics, like some jumping jacks, to get some blood flowing to your hands, and that'll help warm up your hands. If you want, you can purchase a hand warmer off of Amazon. They sell like electronic hand warmers that are USB. They just plug in. It's like a battery. You turn it on. You leave it in your pocket. In between games, you just hold it, rub it. It's a hot little rock, basically, that's going to warm up your hands. Another option is to use fingerless gloves. I remember when I used to live in my old apartment, I didn't have any heating. It would get really cold, and I would actually play with fingerless gloves on because my hands would get so darn cold, and that really helped. All right, let's talk about my next weird aim tip, and that is breathing. No joke, if you're taking deep inhales and exhales while you're shooting enemies or practicing your aim, it's going to probably have a pretty significant effect. I know it did for me in Kovac's Aim Trainer, Comparing my scores when I was just breathing normal and when I was really practicing my breathing, I'd get much higher scores when I'm taking deep breaths. So I recommend while you're aim training or just fighting bots, taking a deep, like 8-second breath in through your nose. And then exhaling maybe 5 or 6 seconds or whatever through your mouth over and over again, so that you're calming your body, but you're also getting more oxygen to your brain, which in turn is going to make you perform better mentally and also make your muscles and everything else work better. Okay, so that's pretty much it for all my weird, unconventional aim tips. Let's jump into aim settings. There are tons of videos out there about aim settings, so I don't want to go too deep into this topic, but I do want to go a little deeper into the settings that most people don't understand. To handle this quickly, I'm going to go off some ranges for each setting that the majority of all the professional players are using. A user on Reddit by the name of Breakpoint has compiled a list of 37 pro player settings and averaged them out to the following. Sensitivity. Look acceleration between 3 and 4. This is very consistent across all pro players. Horizontal sensitivity, 4 to 6. Vertical sensitivity, 4 to 6. I'd recommend just matching vertical and horizontal sensitivity for consistency. These sensitivities might seem low to some, but Halo is really about fine accuracy more than quick aim movement. Use good positioning and awareness, and you can be successful at a sensitivity as low as 2. FOV. Most pro players play with an FOV of somewhere between 100 to 108. I have an ultra-wide monitor, so mine is usually around 95, but equivalent to something like 105. A larger FOV lets you see more of your environment, while a smaller FOV narrows things down but makes your targets larger. What many people don't realize about FOV is a larger FOV makes your crosshair smaller, and a smaller FOV makes your crosshair bigger. Play with it to see what you like. I don't think there's a right or wrong on FOV. Dead zones. For the sake of brevity, I will say set your dead zones appropriate to your own controller. Dead zones combat stick drift, which is what causes your controller to give movement inputs when you're not even touching it. Start with setting your dead zones to 0. Flick your stick away from the center and let it spring back on its own without touching it. If your aim is moving, still without you touching it, then up the dead zones by 0.5. Repeat this until your reticle is no longer moving when you flick your stick and let it go, and you're not touching the controller. Now let's talk about maximum input threshold. This is one of the most interesting and least understood settings in the game. Maximum input threshold determines the distance that your stick needs to move away from the center in order to activate the maximum character or look speed. In other words, it kind of determines when your look acceleration starts to kick in and how strong it gets early on. It kind of sounds backwards, but the larger the number here, the sooner your turn speed will accelerate as you move the toggle away from center. The lower the setting, the longer it will take for your turn speed to begin accelerating. The easiest way I can describe the difference between a high or low setting is that a lower number results in a tighter and more easily controlled aim. A larger number here will result in a looser and faster aim that will need to be learned to control accurately. There's no right or wrong setting here, it's mostly preference, but if you feel like your aim is struggling, I'd really recommend turning your aim threshold down for easier control. You'll see a lot of pros using a high maximum input threshold for their look stick, but that's because they've mastered the control and it allows them to accelerate their movements sooner. To see how this setting affects your aim, I recommend going into training mode against bots. Put on a BR, set 4 bots on the enemy team and 0 friendlies. Play with your thresholds to get a feeling of the difference. It's pretty substantial. This is one of the biggest settings that players aren't really experimenting with themselves, so I'd really recommend trying it out for yourself and finding a value that you like. I usually end up setting my max input threshold for my look stick to about 3.5 and my move threshold to 15 for quicker movements. Alright guys, so that's it. Those are my aim tips for Halo Infinite. I hope they help. If they did, please consider leaving a like and leaving a comment, because I'd like to hear about what tips you might have for aim. If you have any interesting settings or things that most people aren't trying, I'd love to hear about them. Have a good day. Good luck in the arena. Shinobi out.